May I request all present to kindly rise for the national anthem. Honorable Vice President of India, Shri Jagdeep Dhankar Ji, Madam Vice President Dr. Sudesh Dhankar Ji, Honorable Governor of Kerala, Shri Arif Mohammad Khan Ji, the learned Attorney General for India and author, Shri R. Venkatramani Ji, Vice Chancellor, Jindal Global University, Professor C. Rajkumar Ji, Publisher, Indus Publications, Shri Gauri Shankar Nateshan Ji, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is with immense pleasure that we gather here today for an extraordinary occasion, the presentation to the Honorable Vice President of India of the first copy of the book Roses Without Thorns, authored by the distinguished Attorney General for India. This evening thus marks a confluence of legal brilliance and poetic finesse. To begin the event, I invite Shri R. Venkatramani ji, author and Attorney General, to present a memento to the Honorable Vice President of India.
Bring everything to the stage.
I invite Shri R. Venkatramani to present a memento to the Honorable Governor of Kerala.
Thank you very much, sir.
I invite the Attorney General to present a memento to Professor C. Rajkumar. Thank you, sir. I now request Professor Rajkumar, Vice Chancellor, Jindal Global University, to speak briefly about the book.
The Honorable Vice President of India, and of course his distinguished partner, Honorable Shri Governor of Kerala, Shri Arif Mohammed Khan, the distinguished author, Dr. R. Venkatramani, the publisher, Mr. Gauri Shankar Natesan, and Mrs. Venkatramani, and Mr. Venkatramani's two sons, both of whom are here to celebrate this very special occasion. Distinguished Solicitor, ladies and gentlemen, it's a very rare occasion when you have a lawyer authored a book of poems, and we have gathered here to celebrate that occasion. We all know that Dr. Venkatramani is an erudite scholar, a deeply engaged and emotionally connected person with regard to understanding humanity and including issues related to social justice. And there's something about his ability to connect with society through poems, which I have known for a very long time. But today is an occasion where he has been able to put together those musings, what he calls himself as reflections of an immaterial wanderer. In fact, when I look at that, and I had the privilege to read the book of poetry some time ago, and there is a strong thread that connects all those poems. But when I look at the idea of a lawyer writing poems, and I can think of 5 ways by which justice and the very idea of justice and poetry are related. First is that there is a sense of timelessness in both justice and poetry. And that's exactly what Dr. Venkatramani has captured all through his poems. Unbound by the shackles of time, poetry transcends past, present, and future, exploring truths that echo across generations. And that's what several of these poems have done. The second thing about the idea of justice and poetry is both are deeply embedded in humanity. Poetry is a reflection of the deepest thoughts, emotions, and even experiences of human civilization. And there is a strong connect between the idea of justice and poetry. The third is that poetry actually promotes inclusivity, just as the aspiration of justice too. Regardless of the profession, the universal language of poetry can relate to the human sensibility with every human being across time and space. Fourth, it's something about justice, which is it provides a sense of calmness, just as poetry. The deep sense of humanity found within poetry, addressing every nuanced human feeling, can calm and soothe the soul in our daily turmoil. And that's exactly what justice hopes to do, more often than not achieves it. And the last, which is about values and convictions, both of which poetry and justice promotes. Poetry is the most personal mode of communication which reflects the values and conviction of a person more effectively than prose itself. William Wordsworth famously observed, and I quote, "A poet is a person speaking to people endowed with more lively sensibility," unquote. On similar lines, a lawyer is a person speaking to and for others endowed with more critical reasoning. When a lawyer becomes a poet, when the words of sensibility and logic collide, we are able to witness a poignant juxtaposition of empathy blossoming from the cracks of reason. Their verses, etched with the scars of courtroom battles, and indeed the whispers of courtroom confessions, resonate truths of humanity that transcends the cold logic of law. Dr. Venkatramani has seamlessly integrated his wisdom into each of those verses of carefully crafted anthology of poems entitled Roses Without Thorns, Reflections of an Immaterial Wanderer. He has successfully captured the essence of extraordinary in our lives, enriched by his years of experience as a man of law. Seasoned with the expertise gained from years of advocating for the other's interests, his poems reawaken the dormant emotions, provoke introspection, and most importantly, foster a sense of empathy. His book of poetry is an encyclopedia of contemplative truths on human lives, distilling intricate life experiences and emotions into an artful curation of words. Roses Without Thorns is a poignant metaphor for a world where hope blossoms untainted by the thorns of injustice. Some poems, like The Forsaken Child or My Tin Roof House, evoke a strong sense of empathy and vivid imagery, rarely possible to be created through words. Others prompt contemplation on the philosophy of life, exemplified by The Collar of the Maker, or explore the nuances of the rule of law in a poem titled The State, a Leaky Umbrella. Poems such as Lying by the Side of the Great Mother Ganges delve into the innate beauty of nature, while satirical pieces like The Tiny Screen in Our Freedom shed light on the ugly truths of our complex society. In contrast, poems like Vacancies or Waves of Doubts leave us with a smile, skillfully playing with wits and puns. An exceptional poem is the poetic retelling of one of his legal experiences in The Ballad of the Three Mediators. These are only a fraction of the diverse poems that Mr. Venkatramani artfully covers in this anthology of poems. Roses Without Thorns is a philosophical exploration of the human experience that eloquently integrates versatility, spirituality, humanity, rule of law, and justice. Reading this book has been a truly privileged experience for me, influencing me both as a lawyer, a law academic, and indeed a human being. In this special occasion, let us celebrate the poetic brilliance of our Attorney General, Dr. Venkatramani, for the limitless allure of his poems. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor, for your remarks and for very eloquently drawing a parallel between poetry and justice. I now invite Shri Arif Mohammad Khanji, the Honorable Governor of Kerala, to give an introduction of the book at the center of today's event.
Honorable Vice President Shri Jagdeep Dhankar ji, Shrimati Dr. Sudesh Dhankar, Dr. R. Venkatramani ji, Shrimati Venkatramani ji, Professor Dr. C. Rajkumar, Shri Gauri Shankar Nateshan, and this distinguished audience, which consists of legal luminaries, scholars, and of course spiritual leaders. I am honored by the invitation of Shri Venkatramani ji, and because it has to be a very brief thing, I was thinking about it, that the world in which we live is really faced with a crisis of faith, notwithstanding the fact that almost all nations of the world, they have signed the Charter of Human Rights and acknowledged the concept of dignity of mankind. Still we see all around how man is dishonored and disgraced by man. Every day we hear calls to wipe out the existence of a people, one people or another people. And they are painted as evil. We see terror attacks whose victims are mostly innocent people, and goal of the perpetrators of these crimes is to coerce people to submit to the self-proclaimed superiority of certain political or religious ideas and ideologies. The science and technology has placed enormous powers in the hands of man, but proportionate growth of wisdom and sense of values seems to have escaped us. The learned, if they make not conscious efforts to cultivate compassion and love, they run the risk of becoming brutes. They are characterized by intellectual arrogance, spiritual crassness, and coldness of heart. Saksharo vipritatve rakchaso bhavati dhurvam. Why is it so? Possibly the reason is that with the sole exception of India, all and this is no criticism, it is merely observation of some historical process. All civilizations of the world, they were defined by exclusive parameters like color of the skin, or the language which one spoke, or the faith tradition, and this parameter itself created the others. And historically speaking, the other is always a source of fear. And fear invariably leads to hate and violence. Duit yada ve bhe bhavati. On the other hand, Indian culture, since remotest times, viewed a person in terms of the invariable and inalienable characteristic, that is, Atma or soul. Our thought leaders, right from Vedic times, declared that all mankind is one family, ekeva manusho jati. More than 1,000 years back, when Adi Shankar went around India, and keep it in mind that it was a politically fragmented India at that time, and he created awareness about our spiritual and cultural unity, he established 4 muds. To each one of them, he gave a Mahakavya from the Vedas, giving a powerful message that man is essentially divine. And we all are, regardless of our background, we all are spiritually interconnected. Prajnanam Brahma. I am Atma Brahma. Aham Brahma Asmi. Tattvam Asi. All these, they are all nothing but declaration that the carrier of the soul, the wisdom, you, me, we are nothing short of the Supreme Spirit, or if you want to call it God. The Indian civilization has a universal vision, and its unique contribution is that it has humanized the divinity and divinized the humanity. Not whole humanity, not a part of it. At a time like this, we require poets of the caliber of Shri R. Venkataramani ji to expound to us these great ideals, the Sanatan Mulya, for which India has always stood. His poems touch our being and seek to make us different from what we are by communicating powerful Indian ideals which stand for truth, non-violence, and reconciliation. That is Satya, Ahimsa, and Samanvaya. Like our ancient poets, Venkataramani ji does not claim any originality. His poetry conveys the continuity of an eternal tradition, as Tulsidas ji has said, Nana Purana Nigamagam Sammatam. The world seemed to be in the grip of darkness and shadow. But after reading The Roses Without Thorns, our belief is rekindled that behind the darkness of ignorance and hate, the sun of wisdom and goodwill still shines. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna promises that those who are engaged in activities doing good to others never come to grief either in this world or in the hereafter. Partha na eva iha na amutra vinashaha tasya vidyate nahi kalyan krit kaschit durgatim tat gacchati. Finally, I would say that you need not, generally it is said, that you become a poet when you are spiritually or physically injured. But in this world it is not necessary to suffer personally. To be a poet, you only need a sensitive heart, like that of Venkataramani ji, to feel the pain of others. Shoka shlokat vamagata. May the sorrow which has gripped you turn into a shlok, that is poetry, verse. This is what Brahmaji had told Valmiki when the rishi had cried out in pain, seeing the wailing of a female bird whose mate was killed by a hunter. Ma nishat pritishtham tvama gama shashvati sama yat kroncha mithuna dekam avadhi kama mohitam. I hope that reading these poems, reading this book, Roses Without Thorns, will evoke more empathy and sensitivity in our hearts and make us more humane. Manurbhav janya deviyam janam. Become more humane and produce divinity. Loka Samasta, thank you very much. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir, for your invaluable insights and your words of wisdom. I now have the pleasure of inviting the author and the learned Attorney General of India, Shri R. Venkataramani ji, to present his remarks.
In a casual conversation on the Constitution Day, I engaged the Honorable Vice President and said my book of poetry is ready and I would like to probably have the pleasure of a private handing over to him. But he made it public. And I'm extremely thankful to him for this beautiful gesture on his part. And on the lighter side, I don't think a poet should, if at all I'm a poet, right, should keep talking about his poetry. I have a few recollections and I'd like to be as brief as possible. The title of the book arose long ago, somewhere in the year 1988, when I visited the ashram of Baba Amte, a well-known philanthropist who dedicated his entire life for the cause of leprosy patients. So in the ashram, while I was talking to him, he said, I want you to look at these very special species of rose plants. I asked him, what is it about? He said, you know, when leprosy patients would like to pick a rose flower, the thorns prick their hands. They're already pricked by the disease. I want to have a plant or a rose plant which will not have a thorn at all. What a beautiful idea it was. What a humane idea it was. That went so deep into my mind. And soon thereafter, somewhere in 88 or 89, I wrote the first piece. But that was the end of my poetry writing at that point of time. I never thought myself, competent to write a poetry. The another part of it was somewhere in 2008. So I probably completed about 15, 20 pieces. And Justice Krishna Iyer was like our great guru. And I wrote one of the pieces sitting in the 10th floor of Hotel Taj in Cochin while I went for a matter. And I enclosed this piece of poetry also along with my collection and sent it to Justice Krishna Iyer. His forward or preface, whatever you may call it, is in the book. He wrote a beautiful response to it. And he said, Pope and Eliot, and, there are different kinds of poetry. And your poetry falls somewhere in between. It's neither prose. But then where is the sensitivity for people to read this kind of literature in these days? But if at all you wish to publish this poetry, I will write a foreword from the ground floor of Sadgamaya. So that piece was 12th floor of Taj. He said ground floor of Sadgamaya. And that remained with me for a long time. I never thought even in 2008 I'm going to publish this other poetry book of collection. And much later, during lockdown, all of us were locked in so many ways. I think God made it possible for me to think and think and think. And these were just outpourings to which I don't take any credit. And even then, they remained like that. So somewhere after my appointment, we're still wondering what do we do with these collections. I've been kind of privately circulating many of them and receiving words of warm greeting from my very close friends. Then a suggestion came from my editor-in-chief, Mrs. Vijayalakshmi, and she said, you must publish this book. And that's how the publication idea came. Then we had another set of ideas of who do it and all that. That's a lesser part of the story. So when the Vice President said, I'll arrange this function to receive it, it is like something which I could have never imagined in life, one. Secondly, his gesture was so warm. I just go back another very lighter moment again to make the evening not very serious, but I'm going to read a bit of serious poetry also. So soon after my appointment and soon after the Vice President's appointment, there was a presidential dinner. And one must go into ceremonial dinners in time. You can't be, lacking in perpetuity. So I was a little late for the dinner, and the Vice President was seated. I thought, like a good old friend at a bar, I can go and greet him. But I think I was making a mistake there. He was the Vice President. I must, respect the protocol. Somebody from behind me and said, please wait, he's the Vice President. You can greet him later in your own turn. But he didn't mind it. So the old warmth within us as members of the bar, I think must have probably persuaded him to look at this, what called diminutive Attorney General and receive him in this very wonderful evening. Now, a lot of people have gathered today. Every one of you are here today is very valuable to me in more than one way. And I've gathered friends over a long period of time. Not all of them are here. But some special people whom I think God ordained to be here are here, and I'm thankful to each and every one of you to grace this occasion this evening. Well, as I look at what Justice Krishna has said, I am still not sure that I'm a poet at all. But since I must thank the Vice President, let me read out a small piece which I wrote today morning. I was traveling to Mumbai yesterday and was on the aircraft. I was wondering how to greet the Honorable Vice President. And this is the piece I wrote. Let me read it out to you. It's a way of conveying my greetings and feelings towards him. The Vice President is a man of wise. His heart is full of pretty roses. His words never carry pricking thorns. He wandered, unlike me, I think, far and wide in domains lot, as lawyer, minister, and governor, and fetched wisdom, smile, and humor, and keeps his chair in worthy demeanor, like King of Ujjain fame Vikramaditya. If I thank him, my measure will be small, but the claps of all the friendly hearts in good measure now will fill my heart and be a toast of great, memories sweet and moments warm. I could feel in silent grasp his hands and heart as the angels watch. I thank you so much, sir, for making this evening happen today. And it's not a formal way of thanking every one of you who come here. I thank the Honorable Governor who took me so seriously as a poet. And I hope I'll continue to do some this kind of writing. And but he also talked about humanity. Of course, this program was not designed to be a poetry reading session, but I thought when we are in times of crisis where human deficiencies seem to be overtaking many of our good sense and good part of our human nature. So as one day I was watching the Israel war and what's happening there, it was so painful to see why this thing could ever happen. So I wrote this piece with the title, Do Not Make God Flee Our Planet. Let me read it, and I thought that would be part of my contribution to understanding humanity, human nature, and every human being's ability to transform, and everyone who comes in embrace and engagement with you. When blood is shed on earth ever sweet, of no use to its plant and trees, it carries not a name or tag. When life is plucked with weapons mad, it travels not with faith on its head. When limbs are strewn by distant banks, they write no holy scripts without their veins. When fences made by stories past burn of hatred with meanings none, spit and spat many poisons strong, all books of love and compact burn. Identities are caves of dark. Labels made of faiths are black. God never said, I am possessed by some. God never said, my words so holy or treasured troves of the chosen ones. When playgrounds so vast with greens so soft, to tread and dance in trances loft, can human hands with love can draft? Why wet our earth with unholy crafts? Why burden Mother Earth with blinded arms? Why ask Mother Earth to weep endless? Her tears, I say, if heeded not, can command our common God to flee to distant planet to rest in peace. I wish that I am able to write more and more on these veins, and this encouragement today evening is a great value to me. And I thank my members of the family who are here. My son has traveled all the way from USA to be part of the wonderful evening here. And I thank, without naming each and every one of you who are here, as part of the priceless evening, and I will carry it forever in my life. And I am so bounded by this wonderful moments which I am carrying with you. And I must thank especially Rajkumar, is such a dear friend. He can combine art, poetry, language, literature, jurisprudence, and in all in one beautiful bag and basket, and can say a lot of stories about them. And he did it so wonderfully today evening. And he has promised to have a big function somewhere else on a future day. And that will be a poetry reading session. I hope it will be an engaging session. And I thank you so much for coming today. And I thank each and every one of you once again for being with me today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for giving us such a glimpse into your thoughts and your verses. We shall now have the presentation of the first copy of Roses Without Thorns to the Honorable Vice President of India by Shri Venkatramani ji. I now request the Honorable Vice President of India, Shri Jagdeep Dhankar ji, to address the August gathering.
My pranam to the Swamis. I had the occasion to be blessed by them along with my wife a while ago. We are grateful. See, it is bound to happen when you have had two distinguished speakers before you, and of course the author. Shri Arif Mohammad Khan, Honorable Governor of Kerala. There are not many people around in Indian polity with that experience, that knowledge, and that kind of contribution. I had the good fortune when I was elected to Lok Sabha in 1989 and was part of the union government. He was my senior. But he was more than that. He mentored not me, but many others at that point of time, because he then was also most experienced and was holding the position of a senior cabinet minister. My connect with him ever since then has been live, but it has one premise: I am always the gainer. But my third generation has also come to have great emotive connect with his family when they visited Raj Bhavan in Kerala, my grandson. He said, "मुझे तो यहीं रहने दो." हमने कहा, हमारे साथ चलो. A man of great learning, and he is always believing in, I would say, thoughtful expression, authentic expression. He makes his voice known and his ideas fully exposed to the entire world. His presence at this occasion means a lot to all of us. Professor Dr. C. Rajkumar, the Vice Chancellor, has made my task very difficult. But Vice Chancellors are used to do that. He has reflected philosophically also on the entire gamut of situations. I don't easily digest what the Vice Chancellors orally say, because as Governor of the State of West Bengal, I had to deal with 47 of them. But he is made of a different metal. He has covered most of the areas I intended to cover. But that happens more in court, you know that. Venkatramani's gracious wife, and the name itself says it all. Vijay Lakshmi ji. She believes in Lakshmi, but not in wealth. And that's a great attribute. I recognize the gracious presence of all the family members and friends and well-wishers of our lovable Attorney General, Sri R. Venkatramani. His positioning at this high office in the constitutional scheme of things was without his effort. He may have been surprised. It came to his door. That normally doesn't happen. That speaks volumes of his caliber, his commitment to spirituality, sublimity, religiosity, and erudition in law. We are lucky to have him as Attorney General of Bharat, home to 1/6 of humanity. The scene before me is something like that of Mahabharata, where people before me are those whom I have known for long. They have contributed to what I am today. Ashwini Kumarji, I know him for 35 years. He handheld me. He made me familiar with Delhi. Though I came to Delhi as a member of Parliament and a minister, but then I got the distinction of becoming ex-MP. Your ex-MPs, your sitting MPs, but our term was not complete, so I was ex-MP. He immediately engaged in hand-holding. In a sense, he introduced me to the Supreme Court, then from a distance appeared to be very different. We have Sri Tushar Mehta, Solicitor General. It was my initiative that I connected with a young man while he was arguing a matter before Delhi High Court. I will never forget. Thorough with fact, thorough with law. On a very, very difficult terrain, I leave it at that. Since then it has blossomed. As with Ashwini Kumarji, same with Tusharji. I am the beneficiary. We have a connect with a leader of the bar, Adesh Agrawalji, President of the Supreme Court Bar. I don't know where he gets so much energy. He is always lively. He sets an example that every setback is inspiration to succeed. No one succeeds like him as he does. He is full of positivity. But the entire family has connected with him. And the connect is much before I came here. Vikramjit Banerjee, who is gifted with a wife who is more involved with economics, and therefore he is myself by not inviting me, but doesn't matter. Those issues can be settled at some other time. I'll be missing names of money. Therefore, in all humility, I'm saying I'm reverting back to the issue. My office is very efficient, and the office always takes note of the steel frame, the Indian bureaucracy. We are ever beholden to the Indian bureaucracy. They are the most impactful transactional mechanism on a global horizon to realize aspirations of the people, and right now they are doing in the best of situations. Credit goes to the visionary leadership and our bureaucracy that there is in place today an ecosystem where you get full latitude to unleash your energy, exploit your talent and potential, realize your dreams and aspirations. The country that was suffering corruption as a bane. Now the power corridors have been sanitized. Corruption has been neutralized. Corruption, according to me, is the greatest killer of human development, but more for the vulnerable sections. The growth story of this country, which the world is recognizing today, and the recognition is well founded on our epochal achievements, both in the sphere of executive, legislature and judiciary, are primarily because the visionary Prime Minister, who is always in action mode, thinks big, executes fast, is facilitated by this executive. I am not making reference to the Secretary to Government of India who are present here, but I know their power. I was a junior minister when R.E. Mohammed Khan was senior cabinet minister. But since the cabinet secretary and the home secretary had the occasion to be district magistrate of my district, sir, I wielded enormous power. So I have tested the affirmative stance of bureaucracy in fructifying my outputs. My wife, her presence for me is always difficult. While accolades were being given to me, good things were said about me, she was handing out one after the other caveats. But then life is all about observing silence when it comes to power that is much higher to yourself. But I am really beholden to her that she is not vocal on this issue at the moment. But it is a matter of time when she'll get an opportunity with the Honorable Governor sometime. She would reveal her mind in the private, which will enlighten the Honorable Governor and prove the speakers wrong about me. I must appreciate the courage of Venkatramani. I keep on telling everyone that I got into legal profession around the time I became a lawyer. And it has been said by an American judge, law is a jealous mistress. So when I got into the profession, I gave her a jealous mistress. And trust me, and my friends will bear out, and my detractors will certainly certify, I pampered the jealous mistress as no one else could do. So the good day came for her when on 20th of July 2019, the Honorable President of the country signed a warrant for me. I was appointed Governor State of West Bengal. I do not know what connect my wife has with the stars or the governance of the day that happened to be her birthday. That also, friends, happened to be 50th anniversary of Neil Armstrong landing on the moon. But I took oath on 30th of July 2019. I bid goodbye to the jealous mistress. She is happy and delighted. But my friend Venkatramani, look at him, already a jealous mistress. And ma'am is there, he has courted another mistress. Poetry. Sir, you are a courageous man. It's not easy for anyone to so negotiate or navigate through these rough waters. One terrain is good enough to sap our entire energy. You have done it for 3 times. And friends, with your leave, and to share my certain constraints, I would hand over in the presence of religious leaders a fourth assignment that will help the nation and all of us. I never thought in my life that I will have such an honor, that I will be receiving the first copy of remarkable literary work, Roses Without Thorns. Look at the title itself. It defies the physical form of it. But we have accepted it. And we have seamlessly accepted it. That he speaks of his erudition and mental strength. Venkatramani is beyond a lawyer. He's a jurist. Iconic status in our country comes to be based on parameters that are sometimes baffling. He is a great journalist, he is a great doctor, he is a great lawyer, and no one questions how and why. But for him, without fear of a different opinion emanating, he represents sublimity of profession, virtuosity of his contribution is too well known. I am sure Mrs. Venkatramani has been very kind to him, and that may be the reason no one in court can ever provoke him. And those who think his soft style as being, we can take on him, suffer in the end. We lost one of the greatest statesmen of the world recently when he completed 100 years, Dr. Kissinger. He was no friend of this country. There is a book authored by Kalyani Shankarji. But what he said, one thing which impressed me all through, was in diplomacy, if you win a point by argument, you lose the battle. He never argues in court. He only makes his submissions for consideration of the court. I tried to provoke him because on some of the issues I was seriously concerned. I firmly believe that this great nation, home to 1/6 of humanity, can blossom, flourish when its three organs, the legislature, the judiciary, and the executive, act in tandem, work in togetherness, in harmony, with deference to each other and in their respective domain. The learned Attorney General will listen to everyone, but then ask everyone to calm down. I am sure, going by the situation which I have said, that we cannot in this country go ahead without someone really telling all concerned that we must respect the doctrine of separation of powers. Our democracy thrives and blossoms only when its three wings act in tandem. Attorney General is eminently suited, and I say it with full sense of conviction, to ensure that doctrine of separation of powers evokes deference from all the three organs. I request him, I urge him to spare time and pen down his reflections on this. Those who are at the helm of affairs of these three organs would really be well enlightened. And you are in the company of a man who has given India a great institution, Dr. Rajkumar. So I'm sure if something like that comes, because if a thought has to emanate from one of the three organs, it is bound to be mistaken as being adversarial. We require not confrontation, but collaboration, collegial stance, working in togetherness. There will always be issues Ashwini Kumarji has held very senior positions in the cabinet. We are in a dynamic world. Democratic fabric is changing very fast. We are seeing different colors. There will be issues. We didn't have the onslaught of what we are having now, disruptive technologies. They have entered our office, our bedroom. They are part of us. The entire world is struggling to find a mechanism for it. There will be issues, but there must be structured mechanism of interaction. If those at the head of these institutions start sharing their thoughts from public platforms, situation can only worsen. And I'm sure my good friend will spare time and come out with a treatise. It will help all of us. Friends, his expertise to grasp the subject is evident from the several law books he has authored. But then this one is different. He has undertaken an adventure by venturing into something which must be totally new to the lawyers. But it is de-stressing, motivating, inspiring, and for sure, other lawyers can emulate. Sir, seamless transition from one sphere, in this case, intricacies of legal realm, to the evocative beauty of poetry, is no small feat. It is testament to the depth of his knowledge, versatility, and intellect. Ladies and gentlemen, under our Constitution, Attorney General holds a unique position. That is why I, before all of you, and each of you is an epicenter, nerve center of a thought process. It does not matter how many people are in this room, but all those who need to be in this room are in this room. Look at the unique position of the Attorney General in the country. Apart from the President, the parliamentarians, and the ministers, he is the only constitutional authority who can sit in Parliament, sit in committees. This honor has been given to this post by the founding fathers of the Indian Constitution. It was in this premise that I was not digressing. I was adhering to relevance that the Attorney General can do justice to this institution by focusing attention on doctrine of separation of powers. I would not like to go beyond on this issue because this needs to be deliberated and discussed, not on a public platform. His exceptional ability to navigate effectively, impactfully in different terrains is much beyond courtroom. I have tested both. The one call which I got from him, Jagdeep, can you help me in Jaipur? I said, Venkatramani, what it is? He said, some religious leaders for whom I have great respect need some logistic support. He said so in such humility that I tasked a person that beware of it. I will be analyzing your contribution at micro level because this has emanated from a very pure heart. That is our Attorney General. Roses without thorns, a caption very well chosen. Very well chosen. Is beyond collection of poems. It is peep into human soul. And look at the areas he has traversed. They bear contemporaneous relevance and afford us an insight into the challenges we all face today. Therefore, all of us have a deep sense of satisfaction that we are celebrating his contribution to society, his commitment to public service, and his unadulterated, unqualified dedication to nationalism of this country. The presence of his spiritual leaders, the presence of the Honorable Governor Kerala, the presence of Dr. Rajkumar, they indicate one thing in common, that he believes in completeness of things to bring about change for the better by affirmative endeavors for larger good. 160 poems in the anthology, they are thoughtful reflections, and no reflections can come unless your home front is wholesome and soothing. I am lucky to have a home front which is soothing. Dr. Sudesh Dhankar, I state on oath. But Venkatramani is also lucky. His home front is equally, if not more, soothing, giving him full scenario, ecosystem to exploit his talent, unleash his potential, and the ma'am has absolutely, by body language, indicated it. So, if I have to settle scores with him in a subtle manner, the credit goes to you and no one else. When it came from Dr. Venkatramani, and a lesson which I learned from Dr. Ashwini Kumar, when I visited his house on several occasions, never be casual with the fact scenario. So I went through the book. First I thought, why not use a disruptive technology, artificial intelligence, and I said, reduce it to 5 pages, 10 pages. Then I thought, no, I will go through it. He had given it to me long back. I can tell you, friends, this book needs to be by your bedside. Whenever you are in different mode, you can pick it up. Just get to any page. You will get something that will soothe you, de-stress you, and you will forget the physical fatigue you might have had. His words and phrases evoke a reconciling spirit between the ancient wisdom and its contemporaneous elements. We are living in tough times. No one wants to listen to the other point of view. I am right. Why should I lend my ears to the other point of view? My experience shows, limited experience, more often than not, the other point of view is the correct point of view. It is not obligatory for us to believe in the other point of view, but to reject that without even sparing moment to advert to this is not good. Thank you, Attorney General, for this transgression, which is lawful, constitutional, well meant. It deserves emulation by the legal fraternity. I don't know whether Dr. Ashwini Kumar or Tushar Mehta or Vikram Banerjee can spare time for it, because their hands, I am told, are full. But then do spare time to go through this book. That will be some solace. Thank you, Mr. Attorney General, your gracious wife, your family members. And let me tell you, family members always suffer, but they never speak. They suffer most when one of the family members rises high, the price is paid by others. May the fragrance of these roses without thorns linger in our hearts and minds for a long time to come. I am grateful that I could avail this opportunity on this occasion for this purpose. Thank you so much. My regards to you.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts with the August gathering, sir. May I now request Shri Anand Venkatramani to present the vote of thanks.
Your contribution is very much there.
I have little to add after Mr. Venkatramani has given his heartfelt thanks to all of you present here. As the cliche goes, in such occasions, I will start with quoting a famous person. A French poet, Jean Cocteau, said that a poet is a liar who always speaks the truth. Well, we have here a lawyer who is speaking truth through his poetry. I'm extremely pleased that I have the honor of presenting the vote of thanks at the release of the first copy of my father's collection of poems, an honor I've beaten my brother Arvind to. At the outset, we have to thank the Honorable Vice President of India, Shri Jagdish Dhankar and Mrs. Dhankar, for graciously accepting the first copy and ever more graciously hosting this humble event. We thank him for his sharpest wit as well. We thank Shri Arif Mohammad Khan, Honorable Governor of Kerala, whose knowledge of ancient Indian texts has left us the wiser. Thank you, sir. We thank Professor C. Rajkumar, an old friend of Mr. Venkatramani, who beautifully pulled out some essential elements and themes in the poems. His way with words is largely unrivaled, except perhaps by Ms. Pratibha Jain, his wife. We thank Mr. Gauri Shankar Natyasan for publishing this humble collection of thoughts of Mr. Venkatramani. This would not have been possible without the support, his support and the support of his team. We wish to thank sorry, I've got the wrong side of the list here. Mr. Tushar Mehta, the Solicitor General of India. Dr. Ashwini Kumar, former Law Minister of India. Mr. S.K.G. Rahate, Secretary, Department of Justice. Ms. Leena Nandan, Secretary, Minister of Environment and Forests. Mr. K. Rajaraman, Chairperson, International Financial Services Centres Authority. Mr. Vikramjit Banerjee and Mr. S.V. Raju, Learned Solicitors General of India. And Mr. Professor Ramesh Chandra, Vice Chancellor, Maharaja Surajmal Bridge University of Bharatpur. And we also wish to thank every and all of you present here who have all touched our lives in significant ways. I am extremely sorry for this. I wish to start with this list, which is where it went wrong. I'm so sorry for this, I must admit. My parents wish to humbly thank Swami Paramatmananda and Swami Nirmalananda ji to be present here and grace us with this august occasion. Your blessings are always with us and we are grateful for that. We wish to thank every and all of you present here who have all touched our lives in significant ways, without whom Mr. Venkatramani would not be here today. A special mention to his staff and to his chamber colleagues past and present. Thank you. This is not an enviable task when you have a list of significant dignitaries present here. We also wish to thank Mr. Dr. Adish Agarwala, the President of the Supreme Court Bar Association, for his presence here as well.
Thank you. I request all present to kindly rise for the national anthem.